Welcome to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy is a veteran U.S. Navy SEAL, a former protective officer for the CIA Global Response Staff, founder and CEO of the Able Shepherd Program, a husband and father of 4, and a personal friend of mine. Now here's Jimmy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. I'm your host, Jimmy Graham. We got BK in the house.
What is going on?
Able Shepherd 051, Able Shepherd 001. Brother, I'm on a sugar high right now, and you know why.
I know exactly why.
I can't wait to talk about this one because I'm happy. That makes me happy. So, what's ITB stand for?
ITB. I'm going to break it down for this episode and say Intro to Backcountry.
So BDRs, if you don't know what BDRs are, we've talked about these before. Backcountry Discovery Routes, ridebdr.com. Check them out. We've done many of them. My son has come on 2 of them. He came on Colorado and Wyoming. Right? Yep. Other guys asked me like, "Hey, I've been inspired. I want to bring my son. What is this going to look like?" So we said, let's do one called IT. We didn't just want to step on the BDR guys and everybody's trying to, piggyback off that stuff. So we called it ITB, Intro to Backcountry. And it's to introduce the little guys and gal. Man, we'll get into that. I was so impressed by Reagan. But 5 little riders followed by dad or grandpa and a couple sport vehicles. And you talk about a grand slam, right? I love the BDRs. They're just amazing. A company goes out and they just look at that sport, that adventure riding sport. I ride a big 1200 GS BMW. There's KTM's involved. There's the Tenere. There's all these other ones. Mike Bilecki's big in that. He's one of our brothers. And we did the Wyoming and we put some money into processing a video and it was a hit. So check that out, please, on our YouTube channel. The Wyoming teaser for 1 minute and then the movie. But I've got to say, this has been my favorite.
Yeah.
Having the kids, it was the slowest one. It was the shortest one. It was the best one. Something about having the kids. There's a whole other thing when you pursue men and they open up and we use the mountains to do it and adventure and pain and people are falling over and getting hurt and all that stuff. And men talk about things they wouldn't talk about back in the world. But with the kids, it was a whole different flavor. And we're going to try to explain it. And I don't know that we're going to do it justice, right? So we'll get some obviously some video and some pictures put in here, but let's talk about before. So leading up to the ITB, the Intro to Backcountry 2023, we had talked to Everett and Melissa, powerhouses. They're just amazing people. Melissa, obviously the operations manager here at Able Shepherd, and she's gold and she keeps wheels on the bus. Everett is just a hands-on guy that's into everything and knows how to fix stuff, and he's just like a doer, big heart, and he's a leader, and it's just. They opened their home, and as did Pete. It's just so good. Pete Kockelman's got an amazing property, and we said, let's get. We were joking. We're saying, anybody ever practice? It's like, no. I go on BDRs and just wreck stuff, and then I just fix it, and then I do more. So after my injuries heal and I get my bike fixed, we go do another one, right? We're like, we should probably practice, So anyways, we got some foundational skills going on with the kids and the adults. Oh, sand, loose rock. Like just all the very slow speed drills that dialed in balance and all that kind of stuff. And I could absolutely feel a difference. But we saved up and went and hunted down a little Honda 110, CRF 110 for my son. And then others went out and got little bikes and all that stuff, used bikes and found all this stuff. And gave them, I wish I'd have learned this way. This is the way I learned. Yeah. I got on a mini bike and I fell over a bunch. And then I stopped falling over, and then the bikes just got bigger, right? And I didn't know what I didn't know until the military. Due to the military, I had to take we were going to do the Ride for Lance, 12,000 mile, Amazon Prime, check it out, the Ride for Lance. When we were going to do that, that's the first time. I'd had a Harley. I rode my motorcycle with my brother Lance Vaccaro. When we lost him, we were going to do we did a memorial ride from Virginia Beach to Seward, Alaska, and back. That's sponsored by BMW, 12,000 miles, 31 days. Unbelievable. Please watch the movie. It's a good movie. But for some of those things, we were talking about going on bases, and for a base, you had to take a motorcycle course. Okay. So I take the cheesy motorcycle course on the little Sherpa 110 or 125 or whatever it is, and I learned so much. I'm like, how am I still alive? Like, I've just been riding around on motorcycles trying not to fall over, and I learned a ton on things I was doing wrong. So it means a lot to have my son learn a bunch of good skills on a dirt bike.
And I feel like, because I was part of at least 2 or 3 of the training episodes, and Everett had done a lot of research. Yeah. Both, let's say, print or written, as well as video. I would describe it as throttle control, clutch control, balance with the foot pegs, which I didn't know was a thing.
Yeah.
And from a dead standstill, feet on the ground, let the clutch go, get up on your pegs, because apparently that will help you maneuver some very rough terrain. And even so much so, I could very easily round up and say I've never ridden a motorcycle before. But the Pete Kockelman put a Honda 200 between my legs and said, go, stop, power control, make it happen. And I was able to use some of Everett's drills in terms of I'd call it a box drill. Turn left until you have it down, then reverse, turn right, now slalom, now balance a tennis ball on a pole.
Clutch work, let up, feather the clutch, pick it up, feather the clutch, put on another one.
And there's a phrase in the Able Shepherd program that you know much better than I do, but slow is smooth. And then something happens, smooth is fast. So you could see maybe these inexperienced riders practicing slow, getting the fundamentals, taking that fundamental, extending it to a drill.
Yeah.
The drill, in this case, the first time I saw it was out in Pete's field, and it involved a perimeter fence. Hey, let's go uphill, let's go downhill, let's make a right-hand turn. In the middle of the property is what I would call a cliff.
Yeah.
Let's go up the face of a mountain, let's go down the face of a mountain, let's go through some water. So all of that, and the people couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah, so good. Yeah. So good. Like borderline dangerous, and that's what makes it good, right? Is the kids are like...
But yet in a controlled environment.
Controlled environment, but like, for example, Melissa, she's got a 150 two-stroke KTM. Rocket ship. Rocket ship, brother. You're like, oh, it's only 150. Dude, that thing weighs nothing, and it'll launch you across that lawn like nothing. And she popped the clutch and came out from under it, and she spiked out on her shoulder, and it messed with her, right? And then she had to get back on that bike. Now we're in the mountains. There's no soft place to land in the mountains, right? If you can hurt yourself on sand, what can you do on rock, cliff faces, right? So there's a mental game too. And you got little people out there, and you're on some serious terrain, right? And I mean, we left the parking lot. Like we left, we took a group picture. We left the parking lot and Christian laid it down in a rut. And I'm like, oh boy.
And by the parking lot, it was the trailers pulled up, the trucks pulled up. Yeah. You roll it into dirt.
Yeah.
And there's a hole in the barbed wire fence. Go.
Yeah, here we go. You point the mountains.
And 3 feet in is a rut that's a foot deep.
Right, and he loses the rut, falls over, and now it's like, okay, we got the first one out of the way, buddy. But I'm like, man, this is going to kill him mentally. Is he going to be like, whatever? And he jumps up and he's like, I'm good. No, whatever. And it's like, take a breath.
But there's a good lesson there, too, with these training classes for skills.
Yes.
Was also an opportunity to talk, discuss, and prepare for equipment.
Yes.
Helmets, boots, gloves, pants, I would call them shoulder pads. There's probably a fancy motorcycle name. Yeah.
That one was huge for me because, like, if we hadn't got, you look at motorcycle boots and you're like, seriously? Like, these are like big old, like, they strap in there. They're like, is this a little much? Come up to your knees. It's a ski boot, right? It's like a little much until you're pinned underneath it. Like, until you slam something and you're like, this, I truly believe those boots saved my ankle. Like, it would have been, I'd be in the hospital.
And Jace's.
Christian, Jace, like whatever. Because once you go down, especially on rock and all that, and you're moving, and I heard pop, and it was just a sprain, and I'm still limping around a little bit. But it's like that gear is just, it's super important. Like when your kid goes down and even wraps his head on the rocks, you're not regretting buying that good helmet. You know what I mean? Like, that's the good one. And it's like we went for that one, and he liked the color of it, and it was cool, and it wasn't crazy expensive, but it was definitely a step up, right?
But the best part about his helmet was the initial sizing was maybe a youth large. Or extra large. And there was some pressure.
So we're riding back to the house, and they're awesome. So, shout out to Performance Cycle Center. They've just got amazing gear. We're in there all the time because all of us ride and do all these adventures. But we're heading out, and they go, have him wear it. And if he goes on a ride, he can't return it. But have him wear it around the house, make sure it fits and all that. And I know what it's like to have a tactical helmet that doesn't fit, and you're just the whole mission, all you can think about is how your head hurts and all this stuff. So we're riding back. We don't even make it to the house. And he's like, this hurts. That's kind of hurting. Dad, can I take it off? Kind of stuff. I'm like, uh-oh. So I do a meeting. He's in the car. We turn around. We go right back, right? I go, okay, we need a bigger size. Good. Boy's got a big nugget. He's got a bigger brain than Dad, so he's got a big old nugget, right? And I'm like, hey, what's the next size up? Well, they go, the next size up is an adult small. But what he heard was a man's small, right? And he's like, ooh, Dad, I think we need the man's small. And I'm like, that's not what he said. It's an adult small. But anyways, let's go with the man's small. Let's try that. And we try it. He's like, oh, it's much better, Dad. It's much better. And I'm like, I bet it is, right? So the guy's man small. And I already bought the goggles and all that stuff. And I go, yeah, we're looking to do this. We're returning this. And we got these goggles. And he goes, oh, those goggles aren't going to work. You're going to need the adult size. So you're going to need the man's size goggles. And he's like, Dad, I like these. So we pick them up, a little more of a cost. I'm like, dang it, here we go. But he is just glowing. And he's telling everybody, I had to go to a man's helmet. His man's helmet. So he's a little 9-year-old. It's a big old nugget. Got his man's small on, right? He's telling all his friends he's got a man's small helmet. So good. He's glowing. So he's got his new boots that he got weeks ago, got his new helmet. But then this is if you consider doing this, I highly, highly, highly recommend this. I already had comms on my helmet because of the long rides I do, right? But I got the same brand, but the smaller, the down-stepped version that without the capability. And I mounted him his helmet, put the speakers in there, and now I get to talk to my son all day, every day. And this thing, affirming him. Good job, buddy. See that, Dad? I got that. I mean, he'd be like, Dad. I was just making sure. Because it would blip off and I'd lose him and I just hit a button and he's back on. So he was just making sure. If it was silent, Dad. Yeah, I'll get you a second. Dad, I probably heard that 1,000 times, right? But I don't remember the last time I talked to him all day, right? So I get to talk to him all day. There's questions. There's, I'm like, hey, bud, keep your eyes on the road, but for 1 second, look left. He's like, Dad, these are the most beautiful views ever. We live in the best state. And he's so grateful. He's so grateful. It wasn't like, you go buy me this, go buy me that. It was just, he's hugging his boots. He's got one on his foot. I got a picture. He's holding the other one. And he's just like, Dad, thank you. Feels good to have good gear. And I'm like, it does. It's going to take care of you, buddy. What do we say? Take care of your gear.
It'll take care of you.
And it'll take care of you. And they say it all the time, whatever. It's just good. It's good stuff. So I'm sitting there talking to him throughout the days. And then I'm just that guy. I love being in the rear. And I love with the six. With the six. Covering
your six.
Because I want to be the first guy up when you lay your bike down. And I don't care if I got to pick up 100 bikes 100 times. If you go down, I want to zip up there. So he knows that. And he picks that up, right? And he's like, oh, Dad, me and you. We got the six. We got the six, boy. So he's waving everybody up. They're like, Christian, just go. He's like, I'm with my dad. We got the six. It's another going and everything. So they go. We got the six. And as soon as somebody goes down, I zip up there and pull a bike off somebody. A little kid falls over. I'm picking him up. You okay? Start it. Flooded. Get it started. Get going again, right? And I just love it. And then it's something happens throughout the ride, and and you see them doing it. And now I can't get off my bike quick enough because my bike's 900 pounds, not really, but close to it, with me on it. And theirs isn't. And so now little Donnie jumps off, and now they're picking up their bikes off each other, and you're like, look what just happened. They can't wait to help each other. It's gold. It's so good.
It was precious. It was so fun to be a part of that.
It was so good. And then, the practice before, while we're practicing Team Vail, we got people, and we're in Centennial, Colorado. And Vail's not. Vail's in the mountains,
100
right?
miles away at least.
So, yeah. So, what is that? I don't even know. 3 hours?
To where the loadout in Gypsum, Colorado was 2 hours 45.
Okay.
With clean traffic.
So, you got guys coming from Gypsum and Vail to come train here, right? So, they come down twice a month or whatever it ends up being, go through the Able Shepherd program. They're now advancing up there, and they're running the security team. So, we got several Vail security folks that come here to train. And they're gold, right? And there's a history there. And I want to talk about that history for just a second because having a community like they have out there, I came out there because they were looking for some training and a friend of a friend and whatever, and they were looking to train their team, and we trained their team. And I just met this beautiful community that was pretty awesome. They didn't expect this dude coming in, that's this Navy SEAL guy, to be I think a Christ follower for one, but to be genuine and to just fall into their family kind of, And I'm not trying to claim a spouse or anything, but there was a connection there, right? And then they had a tragedy a couple years ago, and it was horrible, like the worst. It was they lost a young lady, and she was a ray of sunshine, and they hurt bad because they're so tight knit. Everybody knew this little girl that's now a young woman, and they're not okay. And they're not okay to the point where they say, we can't perform. Like there's going to be thousands of people, and we can't perform and protect anybody because we're not okay. Would you come?
Absolutely.
So I make some phone calls, and I put together a team, and we got the watch.
Yep.
You go do you. Go honor this young lady. And it was an honor. They trusted us. And what I quickly saw was they needed to ask somebody. And when I asked, those somebodies needed to be asked. So when I came up there with a team of several dudes, and we just took the watch for a minute so they could go mourn this beautiful life, everybody left stronger, right? it was fantastic. Horrible thing,
Yep.
right? But people needed us, and we showed up. Yep. And the guys that we took up were different on the way home. Mm-hmm. And their chests were out, their heads were higher. Somebody called and they needed me, and I was there. And it was fantastic. So fast forward a couple years, and we're looking at a place, and they say, well, hey, Nick is that's his backyard, man, like literally. Yep. And now I understand, literally. Like he could ride his motorcycle right up into this trailhead and go. And he's up there with his kids all the time, and he knows this territory. So so him and Joel comes and Nick Carlton, they get to it, and they build this thing. And man, this presentation is on par with the best military presentations I've ever seen. Like it's Google Earth, right? And as he's talking, the terrain's turning. And it's almost, I'm picturing like helos coming in for his ride, like all this stuff. But it's like he's coming talking down about, the valley. He's like, then we'll go here, and then you see pictures and embedded terrain and all this other stuff. So it's very, very cool. But you can't really see it yet. And then you get out there, and they just kind of take us by the hand, and they're like, all right, we're going to lead you out. We're going to get you to stops. We're going to drop off gear for you. We're going to shuttle it as a support vehicle until you got there. They just got it up there. You showed up. We transferred stuff over. Joel had to come back down. He wasn't feeling well. Nick just literally made sure we got where we were going. He's, giving us little tips on motorcycle stuff and his boys out there, crews, and just awesome. Jen comes out because we touched base with her at the drop off. So Jen, she lives out in Gypsum as well. She works here at Edward Shepherd. Long 20+ year friend from the Navy, and her husband Justin. And they end up. She's there to say hi. We go grab a sandwich and all that. We hit the trailhead and launch. She comes up and brings a quiche. Oh. Like it's like this. It's in a foil thing, and she marks it. No like allergies.
From Maggiano's
right? And it's like insane.
Family
and
style.
It's like, hey, I figured for breakfast maybe you guys. So we're out here like we're gonna rough it. We're gonna eat mountain houses and do all this stuff.
We're gonna eat out of a bag.
And then in the morning, you got a quiche. And you're like, we're gonna. It was like a couple days actually. We put it in the cooler, and then we had bacon on the skillet thing, and on the bacon grease we heated up our quiche, and it was like insane. So, anyways, they come up the first night and they come hang out with us because it's not far for them either. They live in Gypsum, obviously, so they come up and we hang out, and to have all these folks with some of them with kids and grandkids and all that right around the fire hanging out, and for their first night of camping. And we walk out on the ledge, and Christian was like, "This is our spot. We're looking down over Dotsero, right over this town. It's way over there. We're way up here. It's just gorgeous. The sunset." And he's like, "Right here." I'm like, "Near the cliff?" And he's like, "This is the best spot, Dad."
And when we go to edit this podcast, we'll roll in some of those photos. That sunset was unreal.
Yeah.
It was magical. And so we got up a little bit later, I'd say 8 o'clock at night, 7:30, 8 o'clock. So getting ready for sunset and have a pretty solid off-road 4x4 pickup. And we're driving up this hill, and my jaw is in my lap. Like, those 5 kids went up that?
Oh, yeah.
Because this is a beast of a vehicle and four-wheel drive just grunting and spitting rocks. Oh, and then the final turn gets about 6 feet wide, going up a sideways, red shale rock, slippery. I'm like, they went up that? And when you get up to the top and the campsite, and all you see is beaming smiles.
Yeah.
Because those kiddos knew I did that.
It's amazing how, it's just different in the mountains, right? If you're riding around your yard, cool. If you're riding up and down your street on a mini bike, but you got a proper dirt bike. It's small. That thing will do 55 miles an hour, right? And it's a 110 and it's tiny, right? He gets on that thing and it's spitting, it's doing all this stuff. He's, Dad, you see that? Because the tire's kicking out. I'm like, good job. I saw it. Good save, whatever. And their bodies are learning, and you're watching their bodies learn, right? And they're just sitting there just trying to figure out, like, hey, careful on the throttle when you're in those ruts, pop out of there, whatever. All these little things, but it's right now. It's right now. So like I said, if you're gonna do something like that, get the comms. You can get the basic ones, but just the fact that you can talk to them, just like when we train in that shoot house on the other side of that wall, it's immediate. It's not, remember 5 minutes ago when you did the thing? No. I know what you're talking about. Remember your tire spun out? No. It's right now. Whoa, careful, boy. Whatever. Yeah. And we're talking all day. It's like, good job. Hey, careful. Watch this. Get to the right. We're in a blind corner. A truck could come by, another dirt bike. All that stuff is just gold, and he's just beaming. Literally, it's one of my favorite things. The whole time, he's so happy. He's just tugging at me. He's grabbing my shirt, or I turn and bump into him. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. He's like, moving. And I just grab his head and I go, get over here. And he's just like, I goes, you having fun? He's like, Dad, it's so awesome. He's just like coming out of his pores. Yeah. And I'm beaming because I'm feeding off of it, but it's just like he's all over me. It's awesome. Yeah.
And let me take a second. Justin, Jen, Hayden, thank you.
Thank you.
You know
It's so
exactly what I'm talking about. It was good to be back there. Can't thank you enough for what you guys did.
And you guys met them on a BDR.
Yeah, on the Colorado BDR.
Yeah.
Yep. Met Justin and Jen for the first time, slept in a cow pasture.
That's right.
Surprisingly did a podcast from my barn house over Zoom.
I'll have to go back and look at those.
The Don
That was
Jones
awesome.
preparedness.
So I've known her forever. And let's see. Oh, when they said that the ride was going through Gypsum, so the Colorado BDR comes through Gypsum, Gypsum popped in. Well, Justin called them. Hey, do you happen to know anywhere? And they did. They knew a guy that manages a hunting property, and it's off season. And it's like, yeah, it's a wide open. We just need a place to put
Here's a
some
field.
tents. And they go, not only that, you can get a shower, you do your laundry at this farmhouse. I'm like, that's perfect, right? So we go out there, and you guys met. And you know, I think they kind of fell in love with this community ever since. And they joke, I don't even know if they're serious or not, but they've talked about looking property, maybe the PD shares, all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, what's going on down in Castle Rock? So I don't know what the future holds, but it's cool. When you get a hold of something good, you don't want to let go, right?
Yeah.
And I'm glad they're doing it. I'm glad they're part of the family. So day 2. So we get up in the morning. Let's see, I believe on day 1, got there, and if memory serves, there's a little, in the middle of nowhere, there's a little motocross track.
Yeah.
And I don't know who put this together. Someone put some work into it, and it's in the middle of nowhere. There's nobody there. And you roll up on it, and it's a bunch of just little challenges. There's
Skills and
hill
drills.
climbs, there's ups, downs. One, like I wouldn't do on my bike. I'm not saying it can't be done, because it's like there's GS professional riders, even women, that can run that bike like crazy. I'm saying this guy can't do it, right? That heavy of a bike, that loose of sand at that grade, not even doing it, because I know what's going to happen, right? But there's another one that was rocky, but not so sandy, and I'm zipping up and down it. And Christian, these kids are climbing this thing like it's nothing. I'm talking to them, gas, 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 and then they're up top, and I'm like, man, this little 110 pulled him right up this, face. And then here comes Reagan, 11, working a clutch.
Yep.
On an 85, I think, and she's fearless. She's like to the edge of it, and I'm like, she stalls it. I go, hey, let me back it up and we can start it. She goes, I think I should practice push the clutch.
Yeah.
I'm like, you want to jump off the face of it and halfway down pop it? And she's like, yeah, I know how to do it. It's just been a while, so I got to think about it for a second. Okay.
And for those of you who might be skiers, this is like being on the edge of a bowl. And you're dropping into the bowl, and halfway down, you're going to just pop the clutch and the engine will start.
And she goes, and I'm thinking, okay, you're rolling, pop it. Pop it! I'm yelling, and she's like, now she's cruising, and she pops it and gets a little wiggle. I hear a whin, and off she goes. And I'm like, yeah.
Full throttle halfway down the hill. You got gravity in your favor. What could
So
go wrong?
So then we camp out. We have our first night, and then we load everything up, and then it's off to campsite 2, right? And campsite 2, let's see if I remember right.
Well, and one thing I'd like to say too is the kids were not given much slack. This was run like a traditional BDR in that you roll up to camp, you get your headlight on, you get your bike stabilized, you change your clothes, you get your tent set up, you get your sleeping pad down, you get camp ready before the sun goes down. Yeah. Now you find your little bag, heat up some water, right? So it wasn't, oh, mommy or daddy, I need some food. It's like, you know where your food is.
Yeah. Or grab
I'll help you make fire.
Yeah.
So that was a great learning
Because
experience.
we did that with Christian, and Everett was on it first. He's like, oh, where's your headlamp? He's like, it's not dark. It's like, that's when you find your headlamp, when it's not dark. When you're not bumping around and tripping through cactus looking for your headlamp, put it around your neck. And now, get there, set up your tent, set up everything in the daylight. Now you guys can ride around and do all this stuff, but now it's getting dark. It's starting to get your headlamp, whatever, and now it's dark and whatever. So it's just good lessons to get in. There's plenty of room for fun. We're not running like a drill instructor camp or whatever, but it's like, hey, this is
helps them
prioritize. It just makes sense,
this is
right?
Important, yeah.
And they had so much fun. They sleep hard. They wake up in the morning, and here we go again. So now we're off to camp 2, tucked into the trees. That was pretty amazing. We're just unbelievable. I was surprised at how few people were out there.
What did we see? One Jeep?
First day was one
Jeep?
Jeep. Yeah. On the way there, I only saw one vehicle, and then a couple rolled in. But I would have expected a bunch more.
We saw
dirt
more
bikes.
deer, right?
Yeah,
there was
more than people.
Female and a male deer. What would we figure? 70 yards away, just watching us, sitting on the hill.
So day 2, as we're running to the camp 2, we stopped back at the motocross park, let the kids go, get a bunch of good footage. There will be a video coming out on this one on our YouTube channel, and then. We just have to, because once you do these videos and you put that kind of effort into it, like the Mike Bilecki quality of editing all that stuff, you get that it's there forever. Yeah. Like I still watch Wyoming, just the teaser a lot, right? And I get to see my son running around and doing this stuff with these guys, and it's just goodness. But then we did a river run, hot, mosquitoes, covered in all the, the bug juice and all that kind of stuff and dust. So we basically park everything, jump in the back of a pickup truck, shoot down to gypsum, and jump in the river. And it's just the right thing to do. There's a current running through there. It's cold, kind of takes your breath, and you settle in, relaxing the bones, getting all the yuck off you, and then back to it, right? So just absolutely cool.
And it was so relaxing, comfortable. It was freezing.
Yeah.
But no sooner did we drive back to camp, people are already saying, can we go back down?
Yeah.
That felt pretty good. Right?
And then we go to the motocross, the first day at the motocross track. You know when it's time to call it a day, when people start dumping it? Like little kids just randomly, like 1 down.
Tired.
2 down, 3 down. Time to go.
Yeah.
Right? They're tired. Their bodies aren't responding. Time to go home. They go home, take a nap. They get up in the morning. They go at it again. And we set up at Camp 2. They ran until it was like you had to tell them, like, it is, I know it's not bedtime yet. You need to hit the kill switch.
I think Levi ran out of gas.
Yeah.
Ran his bike out of gas.
Yeah. He was going and going and going. And it's awesome. Like, why not? Like, we're out here. We came to ride bikes. We're all kicking it by the campfire. If you guys want to run these things in the ground until you start getting loopy, right? Now it's time to shut them off because somebody's going to get hurt. So fantastic. Day 3, we had, we head up to
Do you remember how day 3 started?
The ocean. Was that the morning?
2 or 3 packs of bacon.
Yes.
Bacon-soaked quiche, and a Bible study. What are you grateful for? What are you thankful for?
We go around the circle, guys. What are you thankful for? And they just each go, I'm thankful for this. And it's everything from my motorcycle running good to my parents to good gear to it's just goodness, right? Setting that gratitude, which there was no lack of gratitude. I didn't see anybody there entitled. You know what I mean? And that was just gold. They knew they were in it. And I'm from this end too, right? I'm soaking every second up because it's just gold. And at some point we make the statement, where it just dawns on me, like if the math that nobody argues, if the math says that these fatherless homes and a time without a masculine role model is just the beginning or the cause of so much pain in the world, that it's easy to reverse that math and go, the more time I spend with this boy, the healthier he's going to be. Yep. With all this goodness and the people that I choose. If you're a bad example, you're simply not on the ride.
Yep.
That's very clear. On everyone we do, I'm like, I will not leave. I will not come home worse off than I left. Less of a man that left the house, because then it's a failure. It's not worth my time, and it's a disservice to my family. So you're going to watch your language. You're going to watch your drinking. You're going to do all that. So you're going to keep yourself in check. Not because I'm here to tell you what to do, because I put a lot of effort into this, and so do these guys. Yeah. So it's just kind of, I'm not here to tell you rules, but these are the SOPs, and if you don't like them, that's cool. You're from American Free on the Earth, you can stay at your house, right? You're not coming on my ride. You're going to jack this up, right? And if you're like, well, I can do whatever I want, you can, but you're going to go over there. Yeah. We're going to keep going, and you just go over there and be a jerk by yourself. But we don't have that problem. Once you demand excellence, excellence shows up, right? Yeah. So that was fantastic. And our kids are feeding on that. You can see them looking. I don't care. Somebody's going to pull a bike off you. It might not be your dad. Somebody's dad. It's not your dad. Doesn't have to be, because I chose these people, right? This is the community. And now we're like, it's not even their dad. It's a kid. And it's like, kid falls over like, I got you. And they're jumping over, and they're like, they're just quicker off their bike than me at 49 off a GS that's parked on a hill. I'm like...
With a tender knee and a sprained ankle.
Oh, yeah. I'm hobbling, and I'm like, hey. They're like, you want ice? I'm like, these boots are fantastic pressure splints. I'm just going to tighten up one of these buckles, keep pressure on it. And I was like, at one point I said, man, this ankle's jacked. Like, I heard it pop. So I probably shouldn't be walking on it. Good thing I brought a bike.
Well,
don't walk on it, ride on it. I can stand on a peg.
I should put this on ice. And then Don says, before you put it on ice, let me get my Gatorade.
Well, that's what Ben was saying. Dude, put your foot in the cooler. And I'm like, there's a cooler etiquette that I'm not going to violate here. It's like, and he goes, let me get my Gatorade first. I'm like, what flavor is this? I've never had the...
This is day 2 motorcycle boot.
It's like, what is this jungle rot grape?
Goodness.
Okay, so where are we? Day 3, we get a delivery of red meat. So all of a sudden, here comes the Vail crew again. And Joel rolls up with a packet of already marinated steaks.
2 packets.
Big packets, right? Plenty for everybody. It was left over. We're sitting there finger fooding it afterwards because everybody had a full meal, and then we set it out there, and we're all talking and just little steak strips, whatever, with corn and oh man. So yeah, we're not roughing it by any means. What else? On that on that one, am I on the right day? Day 3, yeah. That's where we found the little waterfall.
The waterfall.
Brother,
Yeah.
the rivers are cold. That creek, did you get in it?
No, but Everett said about 12 minutes ago it was snow.
Yeah. This is snow runoff. And
It's 33 degrees.
Yeah, it's that punch in the soul. And it was weird. It was waterfall, but it wasn't like standing in it. You had to kind of get down. Okay. So I'm grabbing and throwing my head under there, and it's waking you up. So what happened is we all got up to camp. We did see that spot. That spot had a waterfall in it, but it was not really big enough for the vehicles.
It was a little bit cozy.
Right?
It was tight.
So up the road a little bit. We went up there. A little bit of a rough terrain, and some kids ate it and all that stuff. Then we got up to that bigger spot. Once we got settled there, that was the spot. That was our spot. But we remembered the waterfall. So I'm like, hey, I think I'm gonna go get cleaned up. So I wanted to experience Melissa's bike, which is that 150 2-stroke rocket ship. And Everett's like, take that, go feel what that feels like. And I mean, you want to talk about a difference. You're on a big, I'm guessing, loaded out, probably 700-800 pound bike, right? Maybe a little less. Then you jump on this that's in the hundreds. It's 200, two something, a little more than me. And you're just throwing that thing around, and it's eating all those bumps I have to worry about. They're not even a thing. Just not even a thing, right? So I zip down there, I jump in there, strip down, just wash up, and it's like take your breath, and then you feel like I'm sitting on a mountainside by myself next to this awesome bike, the last light of the evening. Yeah. And it's perfect weather, and it's just gold. It's just goodness, right? So then I get cleaned up, get dressed up, and everything in. I'd soaked my shirt and washed it with that wilderness wash and all that kind of stuff, so it's cold. I put it back on. Now I'm ripping back up the mountain.
Yeah, that's all we hear at campus.
It's a 2-stroke, so you hear all that noise. And I zip right by and keep going, because they had told me up there, they go, hey, it's going to feel like Wyoming. So I get 4 miles in there, and it truly is. It's big country, right? So I'm looking across here. That last light's making the cliffs glow. And I took a couple pictures of the bike and me up there and all that stuff. And it's just goodness, because it's just there's no distractions. It's just you. You're looking over all this goodness. Your boys back there at camp with your guys and all your people, and it's just awesome. So then I come back. I'm starting to lose the light. So I get back. And Christian says he's about to pass out, and he goes, Dad, can we sleep in the same tent? So we had made a decision because usually he's my little heat pill, right? Mm-hmm. There's only so many years that that they're going to be hugged up with you in the same tent, right? And he's 9, so but right now he's fully and he's tired. And I go, buddy, we decided to bring one man. These are proper one-man tents.
And I don't know if you can see it on the camera. This table's maybe 18 inches.
Yeah.
This is the size of your tent.
Yeah. So it's plenty long ways, but there's not room for even gear.
Not so
there's not room for another human being in these. Like some of them, you get a 2-man tent and you can do a 1-man plus gear. This is a 1-person tent. And we got them that way because they're small. They pack up small. So we agreed that we would get 2 1-man tents. We put them really close door to door, and we could talk through the netting. Because the first night he's like, Dad, can we stay up and talk? So we just talked. Yeah. We talked until Dad was passing out, and then he'd talk, and I'm like, buddy, I'm done. I need to go to sleep. Whatever. But this night he's like, can we try? And I'm like, okay, we'll try. So I get my tent. He jumps on top of me and he goes, see? 2-person tent. And I'm like, buddy.
I'm now your ground
pad. Then he
pad.
slides right here in my armpit, and we're just sitting there talking. And then he goes to sleep. And I don't know, maybe it's an hour, and my back is saying, you need to roll over and do something. Yeah. So I wake him up. And it's funny because when you try to wake up a 9-year-old that's dead, I mean, they've been working all day.
It's like 3 days now.
Hey, buddy, wake up. So you got to say it 50 times, and then eyes flicker, and they're rolling back on their head, and they're like little glitching. And then finally, hey, buddy, get over. He gets up, and I go, hey, let's go outside. We go out, we both water a bush, throw him in his tent. He's out before he hits the sleeping bag. I unzip it and put him in there. I think an asleep little boy fell on the sleeping bag, and I just zip him in and then go to sleep. But it's awesome that they want to, right? It's awesome that for this moment in time, this kid can't get enough of Dad. Yeah. All this excitement's coming out of his pores, and he doesn't know what to do with himself. He can't even say a sentence. He giggles. He just looks at you and he's like, oh. And I'm like, you having a good time? And he's like, are you kidding me? Like, what kind of question's that? It's just like then that was literally for 4 days.
Or he would say something like, can we go on a BDR tomorrow?
Yeah.
Are we doing this
Can we do this
weekend?
every year? Well, first, can we do this every year? And I go, oh, that's definitely in the works. Maybe 2. Yeah. And then it turned into every week. And I'm like, well, we got to pay for the house and whatnot. So fantastic. So day 4, we're wrapping things up, and now it's bittersweet, and they get to experience that every ride. Yeah. So when I rode from Virginia Beach to Seward, Alaska, and back, and it took 31 days, and it was 12,000 miles, and blah, 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 the same thing happened right before we hit the house. Kind of sad that it's over.
Very sad.
And then now you're starting to think about Mexico, and you're starting to think about what it's like this time of year. Can we just point this bike somewhere else and keep going? Yeah. Part of you wants to come home. right? Because I'm missing my girls back.
Miss the girls.
Right? I'm missing my girls. And Christian too. He's like missing the girls and all that stuff. But you just want to keep riding, you know. And you're like, okay, this is coming to an end, so it's bittersweet.
And also the camaraderie of the team. I mean, there's 12 to 15 of us total.
Yeah, you're just figuring it out.
You miss your partners in crime, for lack of a better word, people that you've lived with for the last 3 or 4 nights.
Yeah, you start figuring things out. You start getting used to everybody, all that kind of stuff, and now you're ready. You know, and now it's ready to go home, and it's cool. But it's like it's a good time. 4 days, maybe 5. Not counting travel. That's pretty good because it's doable, and then you can do it again. So we could potentially put 2 on the schedule for next year, right?
Okay,
it's already in the works. Melissa, I think she was starting before
the line has been set.
Right? So, but then we do interviews because we're going to do the movie, and I'm going to have to let you take this one because I only did a couple, right? I'm talking to people, and good things are coming from talking about time with the kids. We're talking about adventure and modeling strength, and how important it is in this day and age, and good things that you can tell people like me have woken up early and laid there and thought, right? And all of a sudden the truth starts bubbling to the surface. What have I been doing? How have I missed this? Why is this the first time we've done this? This is a little boy and he won't be next week. This little girl, you're going to blink and she's going to be like walking down an aisle or something like that. So all these kind of things start coming out. So can you share any of that? Because I didn't see.
Yeah, to set the stage, we had 2 cameras rolling, right? So I believe Melissa, for the most part, was running the adult conversations. And if I remember, we had 5 kids, 7 adults roughly. And then I was blessed to be given the children. And we set up a log, sit on that log. For those of you who may see the videos roll in, it's a GoPro on Jimmy's helmet, balanced on a tripod. I mean, we are not talking
really, really high tech
Hollywood production, right? And the mouths of children. I can't recall how many times I cried. Little kids are just watching tears because they're so gentle, so sweet, and so thoughtful. And to reinforce your point with Christian, I said, anything else you'd want to add here, buddy? And he says, or what would you do different on the next one? He's like, I really wish my sister Sarah was here. And I lost it. I'm like,
and that's so funny because they have this, they're just siblings and they're close. And I take Sarah on a date because the boy does his motorcycle thing. Rebecca's driving, so I took her driving the other day. Sarah sometimes gets missed because she's right there under Rebecca. Yeah. Rebecca, we're trying to figure stuff out, right? So Rebecca being the firstborn, trying to figure stuff out. Sarah sometimes falls in that space, right? So I said, hey, you want to go grab coffee with Dad? We go to, and she goes, can you do an interview? Because I interview my kids. You know this. Yeah. I've got an interview. Yep. It's a working interview, and I've given this to men. I say, go. Who cares what it says? Go talk to your kid, right? Yeah. But we have what's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? We start going all this stuff. And then I said, favorite member with Christian. And she gets this look because she's just annoyed by him, right? That stuff. And I go, before you answer, I want you to know something BK told me, right? That when he was asked if he could do anything different on the next one, they would be to have you there. And she was like, really? And she was just emotional about it. Like, really? Because I thought we just annoyed the out of each other, right? No. I'm like, yeah, it may be true, but he loves you, kid. Now answer. And she's like, okay, one time you did this, and it was just a sweet memory. And I log all this. Yeah. I log it on my phone, on the notes, and I've got years and years and years of interviews with my kids, and it was a beautiful one. So what other kind of things came up?
The other one that jumps to the top of my head, I don't think we've expressed much of it, but Reagan. I want to say, I don't know her exact age. I know she's starting 6th grade this
11.
month. Transition, kind of that awkward age going to middle school. In my opinion, maybe a little bit quiet, or she thinks. You can see her processing so much information, and she owned it. This girl owned the mountain.
I'm Fearless. So impressed with her. I told her 50 times.
Gets on a bike, and keep up if you can, boys. I'll be up there. So, I get to see and participate and watch very special moments with, I was sitting next to Everett as he's watching Cowboy TV.
Yeah.
And his baby girl crawls in his lap and
campfire, by the way,
absorbing that moment.
Yeah.
I never had a daughter, but to have, I can only imagine how special that is. So anyways, I've got all this in my head. She's sitting down. We're talking in the woods. Very sweet, soft-spoken. And I remember asking her, what was the best part of this BDR for you? And she just looks at me and she says, what I learned if I fall down, somebody will be there to pick me up. I'm like, and it's just, once again, here I am, a grown man bawling in the woods at little kids. It was wonderful, the insightfulness, and yet the genuine tone. She knew. It could have been any one of the 5 younger riders. It could have been any one of the 5 older riders, or it could have been one of the 2 sport trucks. She was perfectly comfortable that it could be anybody. These people have my back, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, that's to know that people with you would move heaven and earth to get you to care, right? To take care of you, that you're not going to be left alone, all that kind of stuff. It's fantastic, and it's good that they know that, they feel that, they believe it. You can tell people something, it's one thing, but to believe it,
And I think, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I felt like I could see she knew that support was outside of the ride as well.
Yeah.
This is when I'm back home. This is when I'm at school.
Yeah. That's so
this is
good.
when I'm with mom and dad. She knew she was safe.
You've heard me say this, where it's different. Like, so when people talk about the SEAL teams in the community and what has become popular now with the LLTB from Jack Carr's, what's it called? Terminal List.
Terminal List.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that stands for Long Live the Brotherhood. So you'll see in the entry, you'll see the etched into the gun.
Yep.
That's a true thing. That's what we say. Long live the Brotherhood, right? And I say it this way to try to capture that for people. It's like there's a saying. You know Jimmy Graham? Yeah, I'd kill or die for that guy. Which sounds flippant that anybody could say because it's a bumper sticker, but who said it? We say this all the time. Who said it? What'd they say? How'd they say it? Why'd they say it? Right? So when that caliber of man tells you, I'd kill or die for that dude, and you believe him because he's capable of it, and he may have to prove it tomorrow, right? When you believe it and understand it, it's hard to explain that kind of community. It's hard to explain it, right? And and maybe you see it in gangs, and maybe you see it in war, and maybe you see it in this and that, but it's a real thing. Like when you believe that people truly have your back and they would do anything for you, right? It's a rare thing, and it's dying, by the way. It's dying because people are very superficial at this point. But when you're in that situation, and there's a healthy thing that happens, especially in young ladies, that they say, people care about me so I can grow up slow. And this is a proven scientific fact. Read a lot of books when we were going to have a first daughter. Didn't know what I was talking about, but one of them, I think it was by what's his name, James Dobson, right? And they were talking about like the chemical that's inside of a young lady. It's like, girls, if they don't have someone to protect them and they don't feel safe, their bodies will actually mature quicker so they can attract a mate to protect them.
Wow.
And you think about that and you're like, what? Like it's such an amazing way we were built. But if they do feel protected, it doesn't mean like as far as, breasts and all that kind of stuff. It just means maturing, and you'll see them acting more, trying to attract this thing. And, I tell my daughters this all the time, grow up slow, but grow up strong, because the world needs you, And I want to reiterate that. Grow up slow, because they know. They jack with me because I was just driving with Rebecca, and I just walked by and I'm like, this thing's a little. Yeah. She was like, I know, Dad, I got to grow up sometime. And I'm like, it doesn't hurt, but it stings. It stings Dad's heart. Because I'm like, I turn around. Every time I look at Sarah, if I look away and do this, she's grown another inch. Yeah. She's almost caught her sister. Mm-hmm. She's going to be tall. She's probably going to be 6 foot.
Well, and people watching or listening aren't going to see our prep for this. Yeah. But when you're flying through the family photos, and I see the girls, I would describe in their natural state.
Yeah.
We're at a Naval Shepherd event. We're running MRFs. We're doing pull-ups and push-ups. But there was a picture of 2 beautiful young girls I would describe getting ready for a dance.
Yes.
Black dresses, combing their hair. First time I've seen makeup on either one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, are they beautiful.
Yeah.
Stop the traffic, beautiful. And I'm like, oh, man.
It doesn't hurt to have 250 Naval Shepherds, I'm just saying. Just saying. Those are guys that are very good with guns.
We did talk about
friends.
that story
I'm
in
just
the
saying.
truck. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And perhaps Rebecca's first date. And people in camouflage in the bushes, just maybe.
So then this is a new thing that I believe we need to bring around for every BDR in the future, this is ITB, but for the BDRs, we finished at a water park. Oof. Like, why wouldn't you finish at a water park? And this isn't like Six Flags. This is the Eagle River Water Park, which is unbelievable. So the town of Eagle, they did some work on the river and made it basically an amazing wave that you can jump in here, float cold, jump in, go through these rapids. And when it gets high enough, I think they kayak, they do all this other stuff in there, but you can just float it. And they have loaner life jackets. You throw in a life jacket, it's right off I-70. You pull over, jump in, go through here, it slows down, you swim out, and just there it is. And that's exactly what you need when you're just 4 days of rank and you're ready to, and it's hot, and you're covered in, days of mosquito, whatever, and sunscreen, right? And you're like, it's time to just get right.
It's the real deal. People have heard of whitewater rafting. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Yeah. You're in the river. This is snow runoff. The water is moving fast enough that a grown adult, if you get in that stream, you're going. You're going. Yeah. You're not stopping. You're not putting your hand on a rock. You go down the dip, and we tried to guesstimate how deep. I thought it was maybe 8 feet. I didn't hit the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of us are decent in the water, comfortable in the water. It didn't matter. It put you under.
Yeah, yeah.
Hold your breath. You're going under, and then it spits you up in the air, and you're, yay, sunlight. And then magically, maybe this is what the engineers figured out, I would describe it as a sea. If you didn't panic, if you just floated, the current naturally
pushed you out,
turned you around, and sent you back upstream so you could do it again.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to watch.
We probably awesome.
15, 20 people just kept cycling through. It was.
And then here come the Lithics again. And they got like cookies and what, like with Hayden and all this.
No. Popsicles.
Root
beer, strawberry.
Well, I think that's the guys that went to the. So that was Ben and Krista that went to the store. Come back and they like a root beer popsicle. Come on, man!
92
and then like
degree
orange
day?
sickles and all this stuff. And then we went to Moe's Barbecue, right? So we got to Moe's Barbecue, and And you guys, when did you go to Moe's?
No, so we saddled up there at Eagle River. And we were trying to get downhill ahead of the Sunday afternoon traffic.
Right, and got stuck.
Complete fail.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Justin.
You may have gotten home before us.
You need to kind of listen to a cop about traffic.
Yeah, there you go.
Because he was like, "Hey, man, 285." And I'm like, "Okay, so I'll check it out." And I'm like, and I see red, and it's saying the times. So we eat lunch, and we didn't hurry. We sat there in the sun, bathed, kids played, we're eating Moe's Barbecue, doing this stuff. Guys ready? Okay, fine, let's refill our stuff. And we just take our time. So it must have been an hour more, hour and a half. We leave, take 285. I'm like, where you at? I can pull in the driveway. I've already passed through Highlands Ranch.
Yeah.
And now I'm over by Cabela's. And I'm like, ooh, ouch, because I hate sitting in traffic.
It was exciting.
Fantastic trip, brother. So let's talk about some high moments before we wrap it up. I just biffed. Tell me about that story.
So earlier in the episode, we talked about Nick. Thank you, Nick. And I want to say this was at campsite number 2. We had a 200 to 300 yard dirt road with I think you'd call it a whoop-de-doo. It looks like a jump and it goes down low. And the kids are flying back and forth. And Cruz, what a wonderful young man. I believe he's earlier on the learning curve compared to some of the other riders, yet he's around his peers. Yeah. So he is closing that gap really fast. His skill development.
A little two-stroke that's a rocket.
Happening in minutes, right? He's flying back and forth. He's coming uphill. He hits what I would consider the launch part of the ramp. And anybody that's ridden a bicycle knows how this ends. It's like, oh, wait. All of a sudden the front tire's coming down first. It hits first. You just don't have enough strength, and I would describe it as a launch with the handlebars, and in football we call it 5 yards in a cloud of dust. And there's probably no less than 5 or 6 adults in a full sprint, and the dust starts to settle, and you see this little helmet pop out of the dust. His chest comes up, the arms come up. I biffed it.
I biffed it. And I was like, what'd he say? They're like, he said he biffed it. I'm like, roger that. So he's okay. Like, that's good.
He tells us he's okay, and he's proud of himself. And I don't know if it was shortly thereafter, maybe we were loading up the bikes, but at some point he's taken off his helmet, and he's got this dirt mustache that is, we need to roll that picture in.
Oh, man.
It is top 10. Yeah. It is amazing.
There is they're so dirty. And I'm not like Mom, where I check them before they go to bed. So I got to wake up Christian one day, and he's dirty. Like, his nose is black.
Corn, bugs,
there's
dirt.
There's s'mores that like we had, and I was like, yeah, I got to bed, whatever. And it's like, yeah, it's nasty. And it's awesome.
Somewhat like the Wyoming trip where you put him in a dry lake bed that's full of mud.
Oh yeah, and he just lathers.
And then you send mom the picture.
Yeah, mud. It's awesome.
Here's what I'm bringing home to you, honey.
The devotion was awesome. Hearing them just go around the circle and just talking to them and just being real without all these. Like, and that's the thing. It's like you get all these distractions, start being kids again, man. They just start like soaking it up and loving it, and it's coming out of their pores. They can't get enough of it. And there was no Netflix, there was no TVs, there was no garbage with whatever. The trash pickup. We're gonna leave this place better than we got here. So every time we're like, okay. One day I was like, all right, we're gonna pay the person who finds the most trash, and they just come over there, and I think Jason had like 15 pieces or something like that. So it's like, okay, here you go, and after that it was just like, just pick it up. So then before we leave every campsite, because people are just nasty. I hate litter. I say, Grams, don't lie, cheat, or steal, and all my kids go, or litter, right? Because I know it's one of my things. So they would just start doing it before we leave. Everybody walk through, get the trash you see, and then here we go. And then leave in the parking lot. It was like, hey, we get 5 pieces of litter. And it was like bottles, full bottles. And also where the kids come and drink on the weekends and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, that was cool. And I think one of the coolest things was we didn't realize that our Vail people, they're just, I'm not a big fan of Vail. I just want to throw that out there. Like the town of Vail, I haven't had a great experience. It's beautiful, but I've just been there, and maybe because it was COVID and just kind of just snotty people. But our people from Vail are givers, man. Yeah. And I say Vail, it's not Vail. It's Gypsum, it's Vail Church, it's all these other places.
Vail Valley.
Not Vail the town, because that's its own thing, right? It's cool and all that, but I just haven't had the best experience. But our people are insanely generous. They're good people. Like, you got Jen and Justin, you get the Vail Church guys, with Joel and with Nick, and they couldn't stop giving. And then we didn't know it, but I just recently on this trip found out that Nick's going to be moving to South Carolina. And those lists of people, and I've got hundreds of people that I always plan on getting to know better, right? We're trying to launch this thing and get over the hump, and I truly believe that once we get there, I will have that time. I don't know, maybe it's just being silly, and I need to make more time, but he's one of those guys. Like, I love this dude. And
he's a good dude.
And Joel and him coming out, and then knowing that he's going away, but we had our adventure, which means we're bonded together. And I say we're taking over the country. I didn't plan on doing it for people moving, but we are. And now I've got people in South Carolina, or will soon, right? So him and Chris, it's just fantastic, right? So anyways, that was a gift, not knowing that we were going to be losing him to the other side of the country, but it's not goodbye. Yeah. It's, we'll figure it out.
See you later.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Awesome. Let's see.
Yeah, and I got to put a word in there because maybe you haven't had the best experience in Vail, but Vail is
Is that your jam?
That's my jam.
No, it's Rachel's jam. She loves it.
So one of the first baby pictures ever is me sitting on a wall in Vail. My wife went to school in Vail. She went to the Vail Church.
Really?
Growing up. Yeah.
What? Same church?
Yeah.
What?
And then earlier in the episode, we're talking about providing a presence at a celebration of life. And of all hallways, you say, hey, BK, why don't you take this hallway, keep an eye on it. It's her class picture. I'm standing in front of
I remember. That's right.
That's
right. I forgot about that. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
so good. Maybe I'll give it another go, brother, because like I said, during COVID, very snotty, very short, and I've got like a fuse that long about like my liberties and all that. So maybe it deserves another shot. And like I said, Rachel would be like, she'd move there if that, probably, I don't know, but it's undoable at this point, So, okay, man, anything else to wrap it up? We'll bring it home.
Yeah, I've got a wonderfully fun, lighthearted story that I did not know. You learn things about people on these rides, right? And I believe it's at Campsite 3. We called it Graham Lane, where you and Christian were about 3 feet apart and your doors open towards each other. And I believe you guys were tearing down camp. And I was like, oh, yeah. I ran out to the truck, and I had a bag of gummy worms that were sour flavored.
Yeah.
And I just kind of threw them in between you and Christian, and his eyes get the size of volleyballs. Like, knock yourself out. So he has a couple, you have a couple. They go around the camp, and Melissa grabs one.
That was
without really
funny.
Reading the bag. Apparently, she doesn't like sour flavors. So she's eating this thing. Her eyes are watering. Her body's rejecting it. She's violently shaking.
It sounds
that she's trying to talk and laugh, and whatever these glands are that like snakes have, all of a sudden there's like water droplets being shot out of her sour mash juice making gland, and it was priceless.
I remember the look on that face, like what just happened. She's like, nah, she made that. It was like, you remember on Elf when he sprayed perfume in his mouth? That's what it was. That's the look I saw. That was hilarious.
Maybe I shouldn't. It was a great story. I shouldn't pick on Melissa, but Everett and I shared a moment. So this is Melissa's husband. I believe Levi told us they make WD-40 cologne. And we both looked at each other like, that might not be half bad. And I'm like, wait a minute. If it's attracting you and I, we probably don't want to venture down that road, right? So,
right?
Anyways,
You're
funny
gonna
story.
Attract like a middle-aged mechanic? Should this be perfume?
So we both rethought that. We're like, maybe not. Yeah.
Right. And did somebody say something about two-stroke candles?
Yes.
Like a candle that smells like two-stroke?
I'm just saying you're probably getting one for Christmas. That's what I heard.
Awesome.
Stocking stuffers.
Awesome. That when I recap on this deal, I can't say enough about that time. So I think I said in the interview, it's not like I had the time or money for this, right? Because it's like, oh, I guess rich people go out on motorcycles. Because that's why I was kind of like, man, it's just not in the cards, right? Yeah. And I've quickly gone from, it's not that I can't afford to do this. I can't afford not to do this. You cannot, right? Yeah. I didn't go out and buy a new bike, and I didn't get the best of everything, and I didn't do all this. And we used the enclosed trailer that we already have to get it up there, and got some mountain, and that does add up. But when you really think about it, I would invest. I would do without other things, right? To have that day again.
That bond that was even further developed with you and Christian, I know exactly what it is. Riding in the truck with Alex, talking to your boy about something or nothing for 10 hours straight. There's a connection that is very difficult to replicate when it's not ad hoc, spur of the moment.
Yeah. I could see us when we started this before we even got, because we spent a lot of time just jacking around and talking about everything under the sun before we even started the podcast. But I could see us doing this for other people. Like if it's that good, if it's that healing, whether it's for pastors or fathers and sons or daughters and whatever, moms, it's that powerful. Like, and I knew this from the Lance ride. The Lance ride did a thing to me to where I was like, this adventure thing is a big deal. It's a big deal. Like, if you want to trick dudes into counseling, guys won't go to counseling, but they'll go on a BDR and they'll come back stronger, which is counseling. Just modeling strength and saying, hey, I'm gonna head towards healthy. You want to come? And they're like, I do. Right? But if I call it counseling, all of a sudden it gets weird, right? But you start saying things and you hear them repeated. We talked about the flashcards. We talked about the men's retreat. All that stuff, man, that's just what we're doing. We're just doing it in life, and we're not making it weird. We're not sitting around and me with a notepad and you staring at the ceiling.
The dynamics of it, to recap, we had a grandfather-grandson, father-son, and 2 entire family units. 4-person family unit, 3-person family unit. So it was a mixed bag, a little bit of everything, and I guarantee every person on that ride came back better, and their mug was full. Guaranteed. Ask any one of them.
We say war of good and evil. War of good and evil. And anytime you do good, you move the needle toward good.
The needle.
And 4 days was moving the needle toward good. And it was palpable. You could feel it. It was fantastic. You could taste it. Very good. All right.
Final thoughts.
Man.
Bring us home.
I've kind of had back-to-back. The 5-day, What is a men's mission in Glen Eyrie. And then not long after that was this time with, it's into summer, right? This just everything's landing right now. So it was that, which was a grand slam. Then this 4-day adventure with my son and my people, which was a grand slam. And then this weekend is the father-daughter annual camping trip with Grace Chapel with my 2 oldest girls. So I'm kind of beaming right now, man. It's super, super cool, and I'm filled with gratitude for the people in my life that are manning the ship so that I can do this, right? So I couldn't be more thankful. I think we're on the cusp of something big, and I think that none of this is an accident. One book called The Tipping Point calls it a maven. Once you see something this good, mavens are dying to let other people know about it, to facilitate it, to somehow get other sons and other fathers' sons through that experience so that they can get to that next level of healthy. So I'm going to be praying about this. I'm going to be thinking about this, but we're not done with this. I know for a fact that Melissa's already looking at next year for 2 of them, and that's fantastic, and I can't wait. So, letting people serve one another, creating a space for them to step in and do you a solid, and then you do it back. And we say in a world that needs honor, we're honoring each other and giving glory to God. There's no end to that. There's zero end to that. And we need to model it for our kids or they won't know how to do it. So I'm very, very honored to be a part of that thing. And thank you, brother, for your support. And coming out there, we were just looking at pictures earlier where your son was on an amazing adventure with us. And that is ours for life. With not just our memories, we've got videos of it, we've got pictures, we've got all that stuff. So I think facilitating that is in our future.
And I guarantee it, whether it's your children or mine, when they have their families, it'll just be part of their fabric.
Yeah.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
So the lesson, I believe, is like what we call green pen dates, is it doesn't have to be on motorcycles. It doesn't have to be 4 days, but you need to pull out a green pen and start writing on your calendar and blocking off dates. I say it's easy to set a standard. It's hard to defend it. So it's one thing to mark them, then you got to defend it and say, tell somebody else no. Say, on this day, I'm going to be out the river with my boy. I'm going to be with my girls. I'm going to be with my wife. Start doing that. And what's crazy about it is that I feel guilty walking away from my business for a few days because I'm like, if I don't work harder, we're not going to make the rent. If I don't work harder, we're not going to make the next step. If I don't work harder, we're not going to do whatever. But that means it's all up to me. But if it's up to God, things like this happen. You leave for basically a total of 9 days out of pocket. You come back to the phone ringing off the hook. And now there's new contracts, there's new business, there's new opportunities, all that kind of stuff. And it reminds you, brother, there's a country song that says, I'm gonna work like it's all up to me, and I'm gonna pray like it's all up to him. Work and pray like it's all up to him. You know why? Because it's all up to him.
It is.
All right. Well, thank you, brother. This has been fantastic, and I loved it, and it was an amazing adventure. Count on 2 next year with the kiddos, and my boy's not going to stop talking about it until we get it done anyways, and I can't wait. So for what that's worth, guys, get out the green pens, do it, claim that time with your family, and we love you guys. We encourage you, and until we see you again, God bless each and every one of you. Take care of one another. right? But I don't remember the last time I talked to him all day, right? So I get to talk to him all day. There's questions. There's, I'm like, hey, bud, keep your eyes on the road, but for 1 second, look left. He's like, Dad, these are the most beautiful views ever. We live in the best state, and he's so grateful. He's so grateful. It wasn't like, you go buy me this, go buy me that. It was just, he's hugging his boots. He's got one on his foot. I got a picture. He's holding the other one. And he's just like, Dad, thank you. Feels good to have good gear. I'm like, it does. It'll take care of you, buddy. What do we say? Take care of your gear.
It'll take care of you.
And I'll take care of you. And we got the 6. It's another going and everything. So they go, we got the 6, and as soon as somebody goes down, I zip up there and pull a bike off somebody. Or a little kid falls over, I'm picking him up. You okay? Start it, flooded, get it started, get going again, right? And I just love it. And then it's something happens throughout the ride, and and you see them doing it. And now I can't get off my bike quick enough because my bike's 900 pounds, not really, but close to it with me on it. And theirs isn't. And so now little Donnie jumps off, and now they're picking up their bikes off each other, and you're like, look what just happened. They can't wait to help each other. It's gold. It's so good.
It was precious.